Hi, and welcome back to Guff Stuff Weekly Podcast. I'm Javen.
And I'm Guff.
Today we're going to be talking about something that we should all think about as GMs or gamers or people in general.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about types of players that you want in your games. People archetypes, if you will.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, we all have that favorite person that we go to get into a play, but you can't rely on your two friends or your one friend.
Sometimes you need, 8 people to play a game.
Right. So then you have to go out and find others to play. What do you look for?
I like a mix of things.
Yep.
So I typically like my dream team, if you will, my 90s Chicago Bulls, 80s, Boston Celtics.
49ers from the late 80s, early 90s.
Yep. Typically what I look for, number one, I try to, the first thing I look for when I'm putting together a group of people, if I'm choosing them, not just having an open game or whatever,
Right.
but if I'm choosing them to play a specific game, first thing I tend to look for is a party leader, someone who's very good at organizing people, motivating people, and just in general getting people on the same page.
But not to the point of Gamer Joe where they build the big wagon, they do all the work, they tell everybody what to do.
Yeah, I'm not looking for a tyrant and overlord. I'm looking for kind of what I've been playing this role in our Death Watch game that we've been playing.
Yep.
And my job is to effectively kind of have an idea of what everybody's character's strengths and weaknesses are. And then get everybody on the same page of what everybody else is doing. So that way I don't have 2 people going down a medical tree so that we have 2 doctors.
Yeah.
And then we're missing all of a sudden an engineer or something like that.
Right.
Or if I have a fighter that's really good at killing single enemies, I'll make sure that I utilize him there or try to set up scenarios where we can use him there. And then we have a guy who's really good at fighting multiple enemies, and I try to use him to crowd control and deal with everything else.
To deal with anything.
And then ultimately, my job as a team leader, my ultimate responsibility is to fill whatever void is missing.
Right.
So if, say we need a support character, you're kind of playing a support character.
Right.
But the way I'm playing my character in that game as the party leader, which is what I'm referring to here, is that sometimes I have to be in melee combat and fighting things close up because we need that. Sometimes I'm at range and dealing sniper shots and stuff like that. Sometimes I'm just sitting back and using the tactics that are available to us in squad mode. And that's the kind of thing I look for first and foremost when I'm crafting a party.
Okay.
Is we need to have, and the leader doesn't necessarily need to be the face. They don't need to be the one that talks to every NPC. It's just someone with the characteristics to wrangle people.
Right. I think one of the problems you come across, though, and not necessarily just here, but anywhere, is that the person who's kind of the party leader always feels like they have to be the face, too.
Yes,
and
there definitely is a
lot of people, especially if they haven't played a lot or aren't good with groups, just feel like they're the boss. Everything they say goes.
Yeah.
That gets to be an issue for the DM and the players, and unfortunately. So what happens if you don't find that party player, or you find a group of people, you think that leader's there and he's not there? Then what do you do when it's just a group of people can't make decisions?
I mean, I've had that happen.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks.
And basically then the impetus lies on you as the GM to put down the railroad tracks at that point, because sometimes people need that because there is no defined party leader. And the party leader doesn't even need to be a single person. It can shift people.
Right.
But you need to have a party leader spirit amongst the group to drive the group forward, to keep the group organized, to keep them on track.
Yep.
And having someone like that in your games is something that I try to look for.
Right.
Because it's someone that I can talk to as a DM in confidence and be like, hey, can you help me wrangle these guys together to try to get them to stick to
A game plan of some
a
kind.
game plan. It doesn't even have to be my story, but
Right.
just get them all on the same page because I don't want the party split up. I don't want to have to juggle 50 different things. I don't want to spend 2 hours on one guy's crafting creation.
Come on. It's my favorite part.
Yeah. How about you? What's the first thing you look for in a?
Someone that's going to be present and wanting to play, not being on their phone, not being on some of their world they're on, whatever they're spacing out about that day.
So you want the active player?
I want a player that's active. I would rather have 5 active players, even if they're kind of going in different directions, than one party leader, 4 players that are on their phone. Like,
Yeah, I agree with you, and
I want the party leader also, but I want active players, even if they're not experienced, because I feel that as a DM I can work with that better, and I did for many years. When I first started when I did Dragon Heist, I was basically playing with a brand new group of people that never played before. Well, they had played, but it wasn't to any real extent. And they were just playing with their buddies. Most of these people hadn't even played any games with us at this point. And it was just, but they were active. They were active, and that was what I needed. That's what I look for as a DM anyway.
Okay. The other thing I like to look for in a group of people is I kind of like to have somebody who's a little, not necessarily a full-blown rules lawyer, but someone who is up on the rules and can help keep me in check as a GM.
Right.
Not questioning my every motive or anything like that, but like
Right.
if a niche rule comes in or something, like someone who's well versed in the rules, but flexible enough to understand that rules might not always apply.
Right.
But someone that can kind of keep me in check as a GM. I like that.
Yeah, that's nice in games that yeah. I mean, I can understand that.
Okay.
Can't really argue that too much.
The other thing I like to look for is I like having at least one. Well, I guess I don't even know. I like my players all to be slightly invested in the story. You don't need to be like writing me 10-page backstories because honestly, that's a burden to me.
Yeah, it's a burden to anybody that's a DM.
Yeah.
Like having 10-page backstories is fine, but it's really hard to incorporate that whole history into your.
Yeah. I can't remember what happened to you as a 4-year-old child in your backstory
down by the river
and incorporate it into my every waking moment of a game.
Yeah, no, it makes it a little tough. I like backstories, but I like them like mostly like outline.
Yeah.
Give me an outline.
Yeah.
You know, at 10, my mom died. 12, my dad got killed by a bald eagle. You know, at 13,
14, I joined the Rangers.
Yeah, okay, so I can work with that. You know, you're scared of bald eagles and whatever got your mom. Well, sorry. Yeah. I do like having players that, other than the active play, you're talking leaders. I like support characters too. I like a player that literally will play the bard, because the bard is not going to be the leader of the group usually.
Yeah.
But he's a support guy. Well, he's kind of leader, but he's like, he just fills a role when, we need a healer, bard throws heals. When we need some extra, the fighter needs a little extra oomph, give him some, what are those called? Those
inspirations.
Inspirations. You know, the wizard needs help. Well, let's give him some help. You know?
Yeah, and I should state, like, I'm not personally a big fan of the strongest power level character being the leader.
Right.
Because that gives them too much power.
Right.
I typically like characters like bards or.
Right.
I mean, I'm thinking of bard in the older editions and newer editions. They're pretty powerful.
Yes, they can be. Yep.
But I like my party leaders to be a little bit on the mile wide, inch deep spectrum.
Right.
I don't care. I don't need them to go in and kill the dragon by themselves. I would rather that they utilize their group to effectively kill the dragon. Right. So that's kind of what I look for in like a party leader. The other ones I kind of like are the explorer players.
Yeah. Players
who are interested in the world and always asking questions about things.
You want to flip that rock over, do this rock.
Yeah, and I might not always have an answer, but it does leave room for exploring new avenues and things
Right.
that you might not have thought about, and it could take you in a route that's completely hilarious or really poignant or something like that, where they're trying to explore something
Right.
in the world that you didn't necessarily think to flesh out, but now you can
Right.
because someone has the interest in it.
Yeah, and the polar opposite, the players that are single focused and only single focused. I had this happen to me not that long ago, and it's kind of ruined my whole DMing experience lately. Is I had a meshing of two universes, two worlds,
Okay.
and they went to the new world, which was like kind of like the opposite of the world they were in. So instead of like goblins and bugbears and stuff being the bad guys, they were the good guys, and the humans were like the slaves and the bad guys.
Okay.
The humans were just like dogs, kind of like how they treat goblins
Right.
in the current settings. And it was a world that was just opposite for them, and the technologies were there, and all this other stuff. But the players were so worried about getting home, they didn't care about all the whole universe that the whole plot that was literally to go in, find some technologies, bring it back to their world. That was kind of what we were shooting for. But because you get the players that are exact opposite, that's what I call like the anti-hero player.
Okay.
You got the guy who's like, yeah, let's go check stuff out, let's do this, the explorer. Well, then you got that guy's like, nope, going home, going home, going home.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, now they're the party leader. They're leading negative on everybody that's playing, except for the one guy that just wants to kill things.
Yeah, they're conducting their own train and
It's
putting
like,
the players on their own railroad.
That's
Yeah.
one of the worst kinds of players to have at any given point. It's a little frustrating, and it sucks because that's not how the campaign started out. It's just how it ended.
And the sad part is you need a little bit of that,
Yeah.
but a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah. You don't need this singularity focus of only like the explorer is so important because if the DM is going to give you something, say like you walk down a road, there's a box in the middle of the road. I'm gonna walk past it. Why are you being an asshole?
Yeah.
Just look at the box.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a magic item in there for you to help you along the way. Maybe Dungeon Master from the cartoon series left a magic bow for you with fires magic arrows, you know. You don't know.
Maybe it's a MacGuffin. Maybe you need it for the ultimate quest.
You just never know. And I understand be leery of stuff, but because one time you touched a chest, it was a mimic. That doesn't mean every door and every table and everything in the world is going to be a mimic now.
I've played with a superstitious player like that.
I've had a lot of paranoid players that take it and then they just go wild. And I try as a DM not to ever be that DM. If there's a mimic, it's probably going to be a one and done thing, or it might be a couple. Maybe it's like a little cluster of them. But it's not going to be every door and every table and every rock in the whole world is going to be a mimic. That's just silly.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, those are kind of players I try to avoid. I like new players.
Yeah, new players just
I like an experienced player that's flexible, maybe probably the group leader to kind of guide everybody along, and then a bunch of new players.
Yeah.
Because once people get set in their ways, they're really hard to get them out of their ways.
Well, and it's very hard to like one of the things I did every time I get a new group of players, and I think back to my college days when I was playing then, because I had a completely nobody I knew.
Right.
And I was DMing for a group of people that I knew nothing about.
Right.
I put the word out there and I got a bunch of people together.
Nice.
And we were learning about each other. What are you studying, this and that, and
right.
And so when I taught all these people how to play, like everybody I've ever taught to play, I try to give them the opportunities to experience each of these roles.
Right. Yep.
And then as a group, they can kind of lock in and barrel down on what they want to do, which ultimately people are going to do. Right. Like new players have it less. Everything's bright and shiny and I want to do everything. And then eventually people will settle into what it is that their niche role is.
Right. Whatever they have.
And you can kind of mold people to specific roles, but you can also help teach people as they're learning the game how to be flexible and how to fill multiple roles.
Right.
And as a DM, it's hard to do. I can't really provide any like great, oh, this is how you do it. There's no handbook for it.
No, there
right?
is no handbook. It's literally players just have to know that. I think we've talked about this in past podcasts, but players in general, you have the leader, you have the followers, you have the explorers, but they all have to understand that everybody at the table is part of the game.
And that's part of the whole like
And that makes it tough because sometimes they don't want to have everybody at part of the table as they're part of the game.
and that's the thing too, is like we talked about this in one of the earlier podcasts, was like the managing of expectations
Yep.
and communication.
Yeah.
If you're gonna play a game with a group of people, and you're gonna spend all this time and invest into it, you need to have clear communications and expectations
Right.
for everybody, and everybody needs to be on the same page.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty good about when I start something out, informing everybody what I expect. Like when we did Agents of Edgewatch, y'all are going to be cops. You have to be good aligned. If not good aligned, you have to have the law.
Yeah, the
In your
general
mind.
interest of the law. in your mind.
That's the whole goal. This isn't about monster hunting. This isn't about. This is literally about being a cop for 6 books in about 300 hours.
Yeah,
Like that's what you're doing.
this is what
I
we're
want to
locking
be a
in.
barbarian and not pick
Right.
on, but I want to be a barbarian. I don't go outside and hunt monsters. No, you're a cop. That's your job.
Yeah.
It's like stop. You can be a barbarian, but you better be like an urban barbarian, not a country boy out trying to slay the dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, expectations. I like to start off all my campaigns. It's session 0. I like whatever we call that for. Why is it called session 0? I have no idea, but it's the name, and that's what we gave it. So that's what they gave it. Somebody else did. I like to just put it right out front. If you don't want to be part of that particular thing, and I've done this even before the Agents of Edgewatch, I had another campaign I was going to work on, and it was Icewind Dale,
Okay.
and the characters all had to be good aligned, and then there was only like 5 races they could pick from.
Right.
I told everybody this is how it is. This is where you start. I think only one person actually come up with a character race that was from that zone. And I'm like, no, you find a good way to make your race that way, and I'll consider it. And nobody could. Well, one player did, and that's only because the background that was randomly chosen would let you be reincarnated. And we rolled on a chart, and it ended up getting the different race. That was it.
Okay.
So that one, I guess, is the only way to really do it. But I mean, that's not enough for some players. They like everybody wants to push the boundaries and play what they want. But I also think that I've done this. I was the same way for many years when I was younger, quite a bit younger. But I met a person that was a DM, and at the time, I had to play something that I wasn't comfortable with. Literally, like, we have this, this, and this. So your choices are this or this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to play either of those.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to play a fighter. That's stupid. I don't want to play a healer. That's stupid. Who wants to play a priest in a D&D game? That's dumb. Ended up being absolutely rewarding.
Yeah.
And fun. And now I like playing the fighter, the healer, the whatever.
Well, and part of that too is like with your experienced players, one of the things you can do to try retool your dynamic is to say, all right, Gamer Joe, you always play a tech character,
Right.
or a engineer or a crafter.
Right.
Guess what? You have to play the fighter or the barbarian now.
Right.
Like you are gonna play a dumb character,
Right.
whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I think everybody should want to do that. It's a role playing game.
I love doing that. I love.
It's like
Don't get me wrong. I have my favorite
No.
archetype I like
Right.
to play. I like to play. I don't like to play the party leader. I really don't.
big dumb barbarian.
But I love playing big dumb hit things.
Yeah.
Like that's my like
Right.
favorite play style, because it lets me, as a player, like as Javen, lets me do what it is I really want to do in the game.
Right. Yeah. Go big dumb hit things.
But I've also played the super smart, have to calculate everything,
Yep.
and I didn't think I'd like it. Like I've never played a wizard in a campaign up until a short while ago. I've always run wizards and
Right.
had that as a DM, but never got a chance to play a caster because
Right.
everyone always wants to play casters.
Right.
And so I got the opportunity to play a caster, and I'm like, holy crap, this is way more fun than I imagined it would be.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it just takes a little bit of stepping outside your comfort zone and just doing something.
And part of that lies too on the players. Is as a player, don't always be the first one there and be like, I'm playing the wizard. No one else is playing the wizard.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that because that's not fair to everybody else.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, it makes every game feel the same, and you're gonna tire out your group.
Yeah, I think when we restarted and started playing Pathfinder, I think that I had 4 players that I'd played a lot of my campaigns. I had one new one. I hadn't played in the campaign that I'd ran.
Okay.
It was the first time to Pathfinder. And we took the Pathfinder starter kit and I flipped the character sheets upside down and I just handed them out.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what they were getting. And thankfully, pretty much everybody got a character they never played before. Nobody was really thrilled about it.
Yeah.
But in the end, they all had fun.
Yeah.
Like the one guy was playing the rogue, the one was playing a priest, which, Gamer Fluffy never plays a priest.
Yeah.
Or not the priest, he was playing a wizard. Yeah. He hates spellcasters. He said they're too hard to keep track of, all the spells and stuff. But he was having a blast with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all because he had to go outside his comfort zone. I didn't give him a choice.
Yeah.
I said, we're going to play this. It's going to be random. You may get what you want. You may not. Because otherwise, I know what they were going to do. I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this. And then the last person to choose is going to get stuck with whatever's left over.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I like. I keep talking about this game, but Dungeon Crawl Classics is you don't really get to choose what you want to be.
Right.
You're kind of just forced into something. Yeah. Softly. It's not like you are this and that's all you can be.
Right.
But a lot of times it's and honestly the older editions kind of had this too, where if you did it by the book and you rolled your stats and then picked your character and you didn't have the stats to play a particular character.
Right.
Like, and this is why I'm such a big fan of rolling straight down.
Right.
Rolling your strength, then your dex, then your whatever.
Right.
But not assigning stats, but rolling for your stats and allotting them in the order that they appear.
Right.
And the whole reason for that is you don't get to really choose what you're going to play. You make a character based on your statistics, not statistics based on your character.
Right. Yeah. No, that's for sure. You used to do it that way all the time. Of course, then you get that player that would just roll up 100 characters and all right.
Oh yeah, and then you always run into the issue of, I don't want to play this character. He falls on sword, and I'm rolling a new one.
Yeah. And
I've played with plenty of people like that.
Yeah. And I understand it, but I think all in all, people, if you just understood role-playing game and then understand that everybody at the table is your friend, except for the DM sometimes. But even then, he's your friend. He's just storytelling for you. And without the DM and without the players, you don't have a game. Yeah. I mean, if you don't have a DM, you don't have a game. You don't have play. You have players that don't want to play. You don't have a game. It's just, I don't know.
But I think that's enough talking about this for now.
Yep. Fair enough.
So give us the outro.
Okay. See ya.
All right. See you guys next week.